Good morning and welcome to Mystical Teachings from the Tanya. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Z from Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We give greetings to Andrea in Phoenix. Good morning. Anna, good afternoon in Budapest. Robert, shalom to you in Boston. And John, good morning in North Carolina. Razinar in Romania, welcome. Erica in Norway, good afternoon. And David Yosef, welcome. Thank you for joining. And who else is with us? Joe in Ghana, shalom. Diane in London, Ontario, good morning. Rena, Boker Tov to you in Colorado. And Miriam also in Colorado. Oh, look at that. 2 in a row. Liba and Davida, 2 in a row. New York, good morning. Michael in Virginia. And another Michael in Germany. Greg in Bakersfield, welcome. Asher in Memphis, Tennessee, Boker Tov. Crystal is in Florida with us. Rabbi in Morocco, good afternoon. Heather in Connecticut. Nancy, Boker Tov. Irma in St. Martin. Scott in Philly. Morris in Maplewood, New Jersey, Boker Tov. Dam in Indonesia is with us. Curtis in Denver. Jamie in Ohio, Boker Tov. Tim is with us in Texas, and Matt in Detroit. In New York, we have Zana. Welcome. Michael in Ontario, Consuela in Paramaribo. Why, Fisher? I don't know where that Paramaribo. New place. Definitely haven't been there. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Genia, Calgary, good morning. Susanna in Miami, welcome. Moshe in Arizona. And Brad in Maryland. Lionel in Johannesburg, good afternoon. And in Georgia, Gilise, Darren. Malaysia. Adam, welcome. Jane in good evening. Raquel in Jamaica. Oh, okay. And we have Batia, Andrea, Adam, Michael, Selena, Yenta Talabenta. Reminded to use 2 question marks before you ask a question. Okay, in Peru. And a few others I can't make out exactly. Today's class is sponsored by Merle in New Jersey in honor of Shmuel Silverberg, the yeshiva student who was gunned down in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. So she's sponsoring on behalf of his neshama. It's very nice, thank you. And thank you, Carl Henry, also. For those who want to sponsor for an event, for a soul that needs to be remembered on a yard site, a birthday, or just because. So you can go to TanyaRabbi.com. Okay. Let us begin the 13th letter. It begins with a verse in Tehillim, in Psalms from King David. Marav tuvcha shetzafanta lere'echa. How abundant is your goodness, of which you have hidden away for those who fear you, that you have wrought for those who trust in you before man. So, the Alter Rebbe says, in character qualities. There are two types of people, and therefore two ways to serve God. Two ways, two distinct kinds of levels. Souls are all rooted in the spiritual source above, and of course everything in the physical world is rooted in the spiritual world. So we have the concept of right, we have the concept of left, a duality. We have up, we have down, we have out, we have in, we have on, we have off, we have high and low. Breathe in, breathe out, right? There's this duality that everything in the physical world, and that is because in the spiritual world it is that way. And it is summed up with the right and the left. The right being chesed, as we've been learning, kindness, and the left being gvura, withholding or strength. Strength. Withholding is strong, to withhold. To bite your tongue, for example, right? And not say, contract, to hold back. That's what the left is, contraction, concealment. And that is a way to serve God. So the Alter Rebbe quotes from verses in the Torah that hatzne leches, to walk covertly with God. And modest, that's concealed, right? That's contracted, so to speak. In other words, mistarm tivke, that in secret places weeps my soul. In other words, prayer and connection, and that in a secret place, a hidden place, quiet. And in the words of our sages, whoever engages in the study of Torah in secret, in secret. So here we have, with regards to mitzvahs, walk covertly. With regards to prayer, in secret, one weeps. In regards to Torah, engaging Torah study, also in secret. So all of these approaches characterize the left side of gvura, concealment. So what does that mean exactly? What does that mean? So the right and the left, I guess, ultimately can be described as the left being limitation. Limitation. Meaning that there's a limitation in how you're serving God. And that expresses itself in concealment. So, for example, in giving tzedakah, you give minimally 10%, but not more than 20%. Likewise, when it comes to Torah study, you have an obligation, and you do that which is your obligation. You set times, limited times, for the study of Torah. In other words, you fulfill your responsibilities. In dealing with others like a teacher, you would cast awe upon the pupils. So this first path is sort of, what are my responsibilities and obligations, is the attitude, which is a very healthy one, a very good one, right, in divine service. And let me fulfill that which I'm responsible to fulfill. It's the type of person who everything is sort of got that specific time period. I got to spend a half an hour doing, this activity. You spend a half an hour doing that activity, and you're totally engaged, totally there. And then, the next 45 minutes, I have this responsibility that I need to fulfill. And you're very precise in everything, by way of example, right? So you do everything according to what is necessary, what, the code of Jewish law tells you to do. Everything, as in Yiddish we say, ausgecheshbent, is calculated. That's, limitation. Not in a bad way. Limitation's not a bad thing. You just, what does God need from me, right? And exactly what he needs is exactly what I do. Whatever I'm commanded, that's what I fulfill. That's the first way. The second way's contrast is the right side, which is chesed, which is expensive. It's an expensive way to serve God. Everything is amplified with no contraction or concealment, whatever. That's like his halcha berachova, as it says in Tehillim. King Solomon says, I will walk about expensively, not haughty, God forbid. Doesn't mean haughty, because that's not walking with God. You can't walk with God if you're haughty, right? But without limitation, without contraction. There's no restraint in the spirit of your generosity. You're giving, whatever, beyond 20%. Your study of Torah and the commandments, you don't do what you're merely responsible to do. You rise above that. There's never enough in what you could do and want to do. There's always that sense of expensiveness in your soul. That's the right and left. And that's today's Tanya. So let's unpack this a bit. Again, very important. What we're talking about over here is two proper ways to serve God. Our souls are all rooted in the divine, and hence we have by nature one way that we're going to be serving more than the other. Both are correct. Each one has a value ultimately, and we'll learn more about this. We're not finished, not finished yet. So we're just kind of giving the parameters over here. We will see where we go with this. But we need to know ourselves and what we are more of, as we will go further and understand what we need to do with that. By nature, we are one more than the other. And it's important for us to appreciate and to understand what the nature of our soul is. Now, we're not talking about, the animal soul. It's not like one is the godly soul, one's the animal soul. No, they're both an expression of the godly soul and how you express yourself in serving God. There is a very important thing about being, uber responsible and, that you are very calculated in the time that you and how you use your time to its fullest, of course. And at the same time, there's an idea of this broad sweep of, it's never enough. Both are true. Both are valuable. One is more limiting. One is more expansive, without limitations. That is, I can't go into the next part because that's tomorrow's class. On what we should take from this. We have to wait. All we did was bring out the idea there's two types of personalities, and we see in the world the duality in everything, right? Again, right, left, up, down, out, in, on, off, high, low, general, detail. If you notice each one. So the right is up, it's out, it's on, it's high, it's general. The left is down, it's in, it's off, it's low, it's detail. Both important. Both relevant. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Not all at once. Let me see. Any questions over here? Nancy has a question. Okay. Let me get to Nancy. Nancy, do we have to give tzedakah to different parties every time for it is to be counted as a mitzvah? What do you mean different parties? Every time. Each time you give tzedakah, it's a mitzvah. If you don't at one time, so you didn't do a mitzvah. But it doesn't take away from the mitzvah that you did an hour ago, let's say. Think of it, someone comes to your door and you give him a sandwich, the guy's starving. The following day you berate somebody. Does that take away anything from what you did yesterday? Gave a sandwich and you revived a lowly soul? No? No, not at all. Not at all. Jeffrey.
Greetings. So, just one thing I heard or saw, maybe like a meme, perhaps even, the question of, is it better to give a lot to one person or to give to a lot of people? And the answer was that each act is the mitzvah. So, the more often you give, the more of the mitzvah. Of course, it has to be with intention and purpose, but I did just hear that apropos what you just asked. So I don't know if these letters are meant to be like continuous from one to another. They're separate letters and stuff, but does this duality, what about this as it refers to yesterday's kinds of tzedakah? Is it like just a separate topic? But I was trying to figure out, giving till it, the hard giving, which I don't even know what category that would fit into.
Good question. So you're right. We spoke about in the previous letter about the act of giving and the service of giving. So here this is different. What act, there would be some kind of tie-in in the next class. On Sunday's class there'll be a tie-in. But the act of giving, we said, the very nature of the godly soul is one that is kind and compassionate. Therefore, we will naturally be giving with a sense of compassion by nature. But then there is rising above our nature and giving because you're working on yourself to give. So meaning that you feel you feel that you've gone beyond what you're comfortable with in the amount that you're giving, and maybe everything that comes with that, in the the countenance that you give and how you give it. that you rise above what you're naturally inclined, how to give and how much to give. And that would be the service of tzedakah, which we explained, then truly refines the person. But that ties in with the idea of that when you are giving often, that brings to a greater refinement as opposed to giving once a larger sum. Because each time, like you said, you're doing a mitzvah, hence there is a refinement that's being done in the fact that you are giving. Because remember, the very act of giving or the service of giving is not only a mitzvah, but actually, like you said, you got to think. You're thinking about what you're doing, and you are extending yourself beyond yourself and thinking of some others besides yourself, and so on. So that creates constant refinement by constantly giving. Yeah, very true. But we'll see more connection with that in the forthcoming class with what we spoke about previously. And furthermore, just to appreciate that these letters were put together in the order that they are by the sons of the Alter Rebbe after his passing. And so these were just separate letters, not necessarily any connection, but there is some kind of path that it follows, some kind of order. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jane, is there a limit to giving? What if you're should I say the giver does not know that he is being abused already? I'm not clear, Jane, on what your question is. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand it, but I don't. Perhaps put it into different words if you don't mind. I have more clarity. Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? The important thing is that we should be aware of who we are by the nature of our soul, the right or the left. And then in Sunday's class, we will take that further to, what does that mean? So right now it's just the awareness. And we'll take it further. Okay. All right, folks. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbos, wonderful Erev Shabbos, and we will continue our conversation, our learning together. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you for Chabad Zich and Judaism in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful day.